it's Nina. Thanks for joining me today for a new video. We're going to be using some products from Newton's Nook and also some of our Simon Says Stamp exclusive dies to create an adorable box card scene. So the products from Newton's Nook that I'm going to be using today are the Newton's Blooms stamps and coordinating dies. So you can see this adorable stamp set on my desk, and we're going to use this to be the focal point of our box card scene. I'm starting off by stamping the image along with one of the coordinating B images onto some hammer mill white cardstock with Simon Says Stamp Intense Black ink. I'm using my MISTI tool while I'm stamping, and that's really helpful because if I need to stamp something more than once to make sure I get a good impression, I can re-stamp over the same image very easily. I'm going to color everything with Copic markers. One of the main images in this set is the flower pot that the two kitties and all of the flowers are piled into. So I colored the flower pot with some E80 markers, and I have all the colors that I use listed below in the video description as well as over on the blog, so you can check all that out. I used then a couple of gray markers to color in the kitty along the top, and then the kitty on the bottom, I'm actually going to use some brown markers, E31, E34, and E37. I wanted to make sure that the flowers around the kitties were quite bright and colorful. By having the kitties be more of a neutral color palette and then the flowers be very colorful, it really helps give you a focus point on this image. If everything was all super colorful, it'd be a lot harder to focus on something. So I used blues, pinks, and yellows, which all work really well together, to color in the flowers. There's quite a few of them, and I tried to make sure that the flowers that I colored didn't have another of the same color touching each other, and that worked out pretty well. I'm going to cut everything out with the coordinating dies. There's a die for all of the images in this set minus the sentiment, so I'm going to use the coordinating bee and also flower pot to cut everything out. And I'm holding everything down with pixie tape while I run this through my die cut machine to make sure nothing shifts. So at this point, we're ready to start creating our box card. Our Simon Says Stamp basic box card die comes with everything you need to make the box card itself. So there is the outer body of the box card, and then there are two frames that you can choose to create either a thinner or a thicker frame into your scene. I'm cutting this out with pattern paper, and I'm going to save the negative piece that is created when you cut out the frame because we're going to use that in the background of our box card as we put everything together. So once I cut out the box card body and the frame, I also die cut a second body without a frame, and now we're going to start folding on all of the score lines to form the box itself. So the box card scores not only a line in the middle of the entire body, but it also scores a line along the area of where it's creating a flap. And those flaps are what adhere to the body of the next panel to form an entire box. So we have two pieces here folded and ready to get adhered together. I'm using Simon Says Stamp redline tape to attach everything together. It's really strong and it works really well for interactive cards like this. This particular tape is 1/8 inch in width. Once I have all the tape added to the two flaps, I'm going to remove the release paper from one of the flaps and attach the other end of the body to that flap. This way, we're going to form a seamless transition across this entire piece, so that way we'll have four sides that create a box. As I fold all this together, you're going to see how this is going to end up assembling into a really nice box shape. But we don't want to adhere the other flap together just yet because we want to add some inserts. So I'm going to use our new grass insert. This comes in two pieces and it has both a taller and shorter grass piece that will allow you to create some depth. Of course, we want to make sure that we fold on all the score lines and add some adhesive to those tabs that will attach to the inside of our box card. You'll remove the release paper from one of the edges and lay that down inside of your box card, making sure you line it up along the edge of the box card itself. Then you'll add your next piece a little bit further back from the piece you just adhered, and this is creating some depth inside of your box card. So you're going to have a dimensional scene. Once all of this is adhered together and assembled, you're going to be able to have some nice dimension throughout this card, but the best part is that it all folds flat, and we'll talk about that as we go along here. I'm also going to use our Simon Says Stamp Basic Box Card Clouds. It's a set of 3 different cloud shapes, and I'm using 2 of them today for this scene. These also have flaps that you want to make sure you fold along, and the score lines are created when you die cut, so it makes it really easy to fold these along the score lines. Again, I used red line tape for all of these pieces because it's nice and strong, and it even works well for specialty papers like this, which is glitter paper. So even with something like the glitter paper, you're going to have a really nice strong bond from this paper to the paper that is creating our box card. So for these cloud pieces, we're going to go ahead and stagger them behind the grass elements, and I'm actually adhering them on 2 different ends of the box card. One is along the top and the other one's along the bottoms. That inner panel that was created from when we die cut the frame into one of our box card panels is going to be perfect for creating a background in this box card. So I'm going to adhere this to the panel that's going to be directly across from the frame, and that's going to form a nice scene. Now we're ready to adhere all of these box card elements to the box card itself on the other side. This is going to form an entire scene, and everything's going to hold together by this next step. So I'm going to remove the release paper from one element at a time and fold over the box card into it. I'm going to keep picking up each of the elements that we've inserted into our box card one at a time with the other end of the box card itself. So now we're adhering the 2 flaps to both sides of the box card, and by doing it this way, we know for sure that the box card is going to lay completely flat. If you were to try to do this on your own without ensuring that it lays flat, you're going to have a harder time in the end when everything is fully assembled and trying to fold it flat because it wasn't ensured earlier. So this way we're going to make sure everything is perfect. After you've adhered all the inserts together, now it's time to just fold that final flap of the box card body into the other end of the box card, and that forms the entire shape. This gives us to the point where we are ready to go ahead and start adding our elements. So I've pulled in the cute little stamps image that we created with Newton's Blooms stamp set. I've added that on one of the grass inserts, and now I'm going to cover some of the flowers with some glossy accents. That's a clear adhesive that works great for when you want to apply some clear glitter on top of your elements. So I'm using that clear glitter to add some sparkle to the flowers. Then I'm going to use some of that glossy accents to adhere a few of the bees that we had colored and die cut from that same Newton's Bloom stamp set. I'm using a craft pick here to help me get those images in the perfect place because I want to make sure you can see them throughout this entire scene. I love that by adding some of the images all the way in the far back of this box card, it gives it even more dimension. So some of the bees look like they're in front and others are in the back. We're just ready to add a sentiment at this point, and I'm pulling out the Simon Says Stamp XL Greetings 3 stamp set. I'm going to stamp this greeting thanks onto some doll pink cardstock, which was inspired by the pink colors that I used in the flowers of the Newton's Bloom stamp set. I'm going to sprinkle that stamped sentiment with some white embossing powder and then go ahead and heat set that so that way I have a nice crisp greeting on top of our pink cardstock. After cutting out with the coordinating die, I'm going to use some Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue to adhere this down onto my card. I'll glue this onto one of the cloud layers so that it's a little bit further behind the image of the cats inside the flower pot, but it's also further up from the background, so it gives everything some nice cohesive dimension throughout this entire scene. I finished things up with a few fairy jewels from Memory Box, and I just love that this dimensional card folds completely flat so that I can easily mail this to somebody and they're going to get a really cool dimensional card that was so simple to make, easy to mail, and then of course creates a beautiful display piece for them to enjoy, which of course used this adorable Newton's Nook stamp set. I hope you were inspired by today's project. I love how this card turned out. I think it is so much fun, and of course the fact that it is so easy to mail makes it a huge bonus. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for additional inspiration. I'll be back soon with more to share with you all, but until then, I hope everyone has a fabulous day and I will see you again soon.